Hey guys, it is me, the Emerald Sword, and welcome back to another video, where today I will be reviewing The Dead Zone by Stephen King for all of you. So, if you remember in my last video, where I reviewed Insomnia, I said that the next book I would be reading would be one that people actually liked, like quite a bit. And, of course, it is The Dead Zone, because people really like The Dead Zone, and I kind of understand why. So anyway, The Dead Zone follows this guy named Johnny Smith. And one day, he's at the carnival with his girlfriend, Sarah Bracknell, and they're playing like this roulette wheel, I guess, where you bet money. Anyway, long story short, Johnny has some sort of, psychic something. So then he guesses every number correctly, and he wins a lot of money. And supposedly he got the psychic ability from an accident he had when he was a child, when he hit his head really hard in an ice incident. Anyway, so before they can win even more money from the carnival, Sarah gets food poisoning or something and gets really sick. So Johnny takes her home, and then he calls a cab, and then this is where things go wrong. In the cab, he's talking to the cab driver, but unfortunately, the same road that they're on, there's also two drag racers just racing around. And so the taxi and the drag racer, they collide. Both drivers die, but Johnny flies out of the car, lands in a ditch, and then he just is in a coma for 4.5 years. And this is 70, right? This is 1970. So he's in a coma until about 1975, because he was put in the coma in late 1970 and woke up in summer of 75. So he's missed like a good 4.5 years of his life, which he's not too happy about. Anyway, long story short, Sarah gets married. Johnny's mother kind of goes insane, and then Johnny wakes up in 75, and he's like, whoa, I've missed too much. But now, his coma kind of did something. So anyway, when he shakes hands and stuff, or like pats you on the shoulder, he starts seeing these visions of like who you are, what your entire family history is, or like what your greatest aspirations in life are. It's like stuff like that. And he can just tell people that just by doing that, because those are his visions. But he either can't see some visions, or some parts of the visions are blocked out, to which Johnny refers to as the Dead Zone. There you go. That's the title of the book. That explains that. So anyway, the first like 40 to 50% of the book is just kind of Johnny living life, you know, trying to get all those years back that he lost. And then one day he gets this call from this guy named Bannerman, who was in the book Cujo, by the way. Oh yeah, this book is a prequel to Cujo. Had I known that, I would have read The Dead Zone before Cujo, but since I didn't know that, there you go. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. But anyway, so he gets a call from this guy named Bannerman, and Bannerman's like, hey, there's like a serial killer around. I want you to like come over here, and you can like use your psychic powers to like tell us who it is and stuff. And at first Johnny's like, no. But then he's like, I guess I will. So he meets up with Bannerman, and then he does some clues, and then he finds out it's this guy named Frank Dodd. And people don't believe him because Frank Dodd is like actually like a good police officer and stuff. Like he's a really upstanding citizen. But after a while, Bannerman is like, okay, I guess we'll go talk to Frank Dodd. So they go over to Frank Dodd's mother's house, and then they find that Frank Dodd has deleted himself. I'm going to say deleted to avoid saying the actual word, but if you know what that means, that's what he did. He like took a blade to his throat or something and just like deleted himself. Anyway, so that's kind of done with now. So Johnny's just kind of living life. He used to be a teacher, by the way. So he ends up getting a job for this family called the Chatsworths, who are like very rich, and their son Chuck, he's not doing incredible at school. So Johnny tutors him. He like moves into their house and tutors Chuck. And anyway, Chuck eventually does really good in school, and he graduates, which is really good. And so Chuck is about to have a graduation party over at this restaurant called Kathy's, but Johnny warns him not to go there because supposedly the place will be struck by lightning and catch on fire. So then in order to set his peace of mind, they go over to the restaurant, and then the owner's like, no way, I'm not closing it down. It would be too expensive to do that. So they're just like, okay. So then about half the people go over to the Chatsworth house for the party, and then the other half of the people go over to Kathy's. Anyway, long story short, Kathy's gets struck by lightning and sets on fire and burns very heavily. And that actually leads to a reference to the book Carrie. And I'm a big fan of the book Carrie, so that's actually pretty fun. But anyway, so I've mentioned like 3 of the 4 main plots in this book. So let's get to the last one, which is like the most important one. The Dead Zone is about how politicians are evil. I know that's quite controversial. I'm not going to get into that politics stuff here, but the book says that that politicians are evil. So basically, there's this guy named Greg Stilson. He's like a representative or whatever. He's running for like Congress and president and stuff. And so Johnny decides to attend a rally. Anyway, the rally goes wrong, but Johnny kind of gets one of his visions that Stilson is gonna do a lot of bad stuff if he becomes president. So he decides that he's gonna do something about it. So in 79, this is 79, he goes all the way to New York and kills Stilson, but unfortunately ends up getting injured himself. So in the last pages of the book, he writes goodbye letters to his dad and Sarah, who is still married, by the way, and still has children. And then he dies. So then the final pages of the book, Sarah goes to his grave, thinks she sees Johnny, but she doesn't actually, and then she drives away. Anyway, that was The Dead Zone. This was a really good book, but I do have some problems with it, which you can probably already tell what they are. The book does a lot at the same time. Like, first, it's about Johnny recovering from his accident, and then it's about like the serial killer stuff, and then it's about the Chuck thing and the fire thing, and then it's about the politician thing. It's like it's good on its own, but like those 4 plot lines, they just kind of all interweave for some reason, and it just kind of feels a little cluttered. But that's really like the only complaint I really have about the book. It's only about 16 hours. It's not incredibly long. It's only like 16 hours. But yeah, I really enjoyed the book, and as I said, had I known that it took place before Cujo, I would have read it before Cujo. But since I read Cujo still very early into my Stephen King reading, I was not aware of that, so that's on me. That's my bad. But anyway, so yeah, I'd recommend that you read The Dead Zone. The Dead Zone is really fun. It's really entertaining. And until like 50 or 60% in, it goes really fast. Like, it is really fast to read. I cannot recommend it enough. Anyway, so yeah, I know what the next Stephen King book I'm going to be reading is, but I'm not going to tell you. But I will say that it's going to kind of be like Insomnia a little bit, to where it's not exactly well loved. People like it, of course, but it's not exactly well loved. Anyway, yeah, I guess I'm going to leave that there. Thank you for watching this video, and if you liked it, press the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. But anyway, that is about all I have for you today, and my name has been Ben, and I'm the Emerald Sword, and I will see you guys next time.